It's good with you, man. You been surfing?
Yeah, been surfing. How are you? How you doing?
Can you guys hear me?
Oh,
Mark.
What? Why can't I have my video on? Oh, here, start video.
oh
You have to
there you go,
turn it
Uncle.
off.
What? Oh, God. What have we started?
What have we started indeed?
Hi, friends.
Hello.
What up?
What is this? Larry, why do you look so dark? Where are you?
That's the reflection of my soul.
Well, that took a turn real fast. What? What's happening, friends?
You know,
It's another sunny day in Hawaii.
Are we live? Are we like recording and stuff?
we are recording.
Oh, we are.
Yes.
Thanks for
Yes,
inviting
we
me on
are.
this little fun podcast. Is this a
Oh,
podcast?
thank
What
you.
is this called? It's a podcast, a YouTube, all of the above. Is that what this is?
Yeah, well, I mean, it started off as a podcast. Well, and then COVID hit.
Yep.
So one day we were just like, you know what? Screw it. Let's just start it. We'll just do it on IG Live. And then
It's funny because I remember Larry telling me about this.
Yeah, I think you and I were over at in Ward. What's that restaurant called?
Yes, that's what it was.
Yeah,
I was trying to figure out where.
we were kicking it over there.
Yes.
What's the restaurant called now?
Panya's.
Panya. We were
Yeah,
over
we're
at
at
Panya, and I
Panya's.
told you about me and Brent doing this thing, and we've been sitting on it for a while. And then it was actually Brent. All credit goes to Brent because Brent was like, "Frick COVID, man, I'm gonna start this." So he just like started setting stuff up, and I was like, "Okay, I guess I'm going for the ride, man."
Well, I mean, what a better time to do it during COVID because, I mean, I think during the beginning of quarantine, no one had anything better to do than to do these like lives and chat with each other and connect with each other on this platform.
Yeah,
Well,
it's
thanks for
interesting,
having me. I was waiting for the invitation. I was like, dang. You're going to talk to all these people, but they ain't calling me.
Oh, man, whatever.
I'm totally
You-
kidding.
you know we was gonna call you. We just had to make sure, you know, we're a few in before we get to you because
Because she's a little picky. She's a little picky.
Start the momentum.
Yeah,
So what's
cool.
happening?
Like so much podcasts are like coming out, and so you know everybody has a time, like you said. But
Yeah.
I personally, I get self-conscious. Like I'm like, everybody's doing it, so I don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah.
But what we've seen is like, I mean, this is why we started. Like the stories are inexhaustible.
Yeah.
You know, like they're the stories that come from this awesome, amazing place, and the culture that we've all been a part of are inexhaustible. There's so much stories to tell. There's so much good to share, so much bad to grieve over, and kind of still kind of work through. And there's a future generation that many of us who have gone through so much can impart wisdom and experience to. And it's been really great to see and hear from so many people, you know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think there's magic in being able to capture a moment and be able to share stories, and then to do it in a way where you revisit it years later, and so you may get a different lesson from it. Looking back at it at now, when we're in our 30s, we look back at that time in our lives with such fond admiration because we're catching different lessons. Brent is older, so when I was 30s, I was really talking about myself.
Oh, okay. I was like, sweet.
Brent
thanks.
is old.
You mean you were talking about me and
you know, you talk about like, now you guys are fathers, and obviously, you know, Larry, your son is dancing, and Brent, like your boys are starting to get to that age where they get to appreciate dance. So for you to be able to share these stories and capture it in a way where they get to look back at it and be like, gosh, my dad was actually kind of a cool dad.
Nah, dude, that's gone. Levi's like, what? You used to dance? But you were actually cool? I thought you were lame.
Oh, see, I told Sasha I wanted to retire from dancing before the boys, well, before Brooklyn could even remember. That way, when he acts up during, his high school graduation, think he all bad, guess what?
Check him.
Daddy gonna shut you down, homie.
Check him.
Daddy gonna call you out.
Okay.
But that's too
Hey,
late.
Brent.
So.
Brent, hit him with the intro, man.
Oh, I'll hit you with the
Is
intro.
it intro? I'm excited.
Brand Cokie, it's Larry and Brand Cokie.
What was that? It sounded a little scary, but it was cool.
That was Kelsey Park singing It's Larry and Brent
Our
Cokie.
version.
My gosh. Your
our
guys'
podcast
intro.
intro. But yes, welcome to our 23rd Sickled podcast.
I'm 23.
You are Jordan.
It's a good number.
Yeah,
I'll say that.
I'm very excited about this because this dude is definitely he's a brother, and he's done great work. He didn't send me a resume, but he's done makaup for
please,
at least.
Please believe Mark can do his own rap sheet.
I know he can.
He's got it loaded.
But
my God.
As far as I know, he's done makeup for artists like Alicia Keys and I think some in the adult film industry.
Hey.
Gross.
But I mean, he's done a lot of great things, and I think he can explain all of that. So I'm very excited to introduce Mark Quirimit.
Mark.
Thanks, guys.
So,
thanks for having me.
For the people who don't know his dance background, I mean, he was one of the faces of Hypersquad early on. So, did you start with how soon in did you jump into Hype? After what do you remember what year?
Yeah, how did you start dancing?
I believe I was a sophomore in high school.
Oh,
yeah.
Cool.
As a sophomore in high school, there was this thing at Pearl City High School called Prom Bash. Do you guys remember that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Prom Bash for those youngins, it basically was like being able to showcase the coolest tuxedo, the coolest prom dresses, and you mix that with a little bit of entertainment and dance. It was like the ghetto high school version of a Victoria's Secret fashion show. And so in that process, one of the choreographers at the time at Hypersquad was in charge of choreographing that. And she did this informative meeting. And so she was it sectioned off by dancers, if you wanted to do dancing, if you wanted to do singing, if you wanted to just do modeling. So I went amongst the dancers, and she had choreographed some numbers, and she invited Gerald to come and watch the actual show. So she had invited Gerald to come and watch the actual show. Gerald came, and
Gerald was like, "Who's that handsome Filipino boy right there?"
Okay. He's like, "Who is that Filipino kid?" So then that led to an invitation to go to Hypersquad when they were still at Middlelani Town Square.
Who was the choreographer?
So I went there, and
Glenna, right?
Yeah. So that's when that's how I met Jason. Yep. So that began that journey. And prior to me joining Hypersquad, really, I think they were known for being just such hardcore B-boys and, really understanding that part of the culture. There was really no jazz in Hypersquad. There was no ballet. It was hardcore B-boys and that type of situation. So here comes...
Right, and poppers and lockers, right? They had
Skilroy. Right, yeah. Skilroy, and you had Jetta. You had all of the amazing people. And then you had this flamboyant gay boy that wanted to come in and just disrupt the noise and just really come in and been here's me. And that was a time when I think booty shaking was a thing. It was considered a And so, yeah, that's really how that started, you know, my Hypersquad little life. So it's fun in that sense.
Did you dance before that?
Nothing like, no, nothing like.
Besides your family's quinceañera and.
Okay, calm down, quinceañera. We're not Mexican. Calm it down. That is racial profiling, and I would not be a part of that.
We have the same culture, man. We were
I was
both
in Tinikling.
colonized.
That is my culture.
Tinikling. Oh, snap.
No, I didn't. No, I wasn't dancing before that. It was like,
Interesting.
no.
But you were like, I'm going to dance at this high school thing because I know how to shake my booty. So you had that confidence at that time.
I did.
That's what's up. Get it,
Thank
sophomore.
God gave me that much confidence to go and do that.
It's dope.
But yeah. So
And then
you gotta have confidence though, growing up in Waipahu and then moving to Pearl City, right?
Excuse me, sir. Let's not forget where you grew up.
Hey, that's
So
why
let's
I'm
go
bringing
ahead
that
and
up.
take a pause. Let's take a pause and a little recess break, and let's go ahead.
Me and Mark went to intermediate together, Brent. Did you know that?
Did you know that, Brent? That
No,
Larry
I
and
did
went to
not.
intermediate school together.
We used to walk to school together.
Oh,
Larry
so
and I
dope.
went to intermediate school together. We had a couple classes together. Larry at the time was like this young ghetto moke kid who had like long hair.
I still do.
And, oh yeah, that's right. It's back. And he always like carry around his ukulele.
Yes.
Like dead serious. Like that was Larry. That's the. I mean, I've known him since the 7th grade. Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy. That's so dope.
Yeah.
And who knew at that time who knew that you were gonna be the booty shaking queen that you are to revolutionize Hypersquad.
I don't know what booty shaking. It's so funny. Jason has such proud admiration to admit that. I mean, of course, I'm proud of it. But every time he meets like a new Hypersquad kid, my little identifier is he's like, "This Mark was the first gay student at Hypersquad." So
do you like that or do you not like
it's
that?
like a proud father, like you know, like a proud Mormon father telling everybody, "This is my gay son." You know what I mean? So you're like, okay, so you just stand there and you're like, yes, yes, yes.
So good.
Like,
what do you
why
like?
can't I just be a son?
How do you say anything after that? You know what I mean? You're like, yes, that was me, yes. Yeah.
Okay, so once you got to Hypersquad, what then? What was the journey?
I mean, you helped build Hypersquad, like you said. You brought in a lot of different things, and I think you're a core leader and a choreographer, right? So, what was that like building Hypersquad in a predominantly like hip hop studio? Like, what was that like, and you know, like what were your goals and what were you doing at that time?
I think what to even say to help build Hypersquad, like that's such a heavy statement.
It's true though.
You know, I think that you look back at those years, it was, I don't know. I think I knew that I wanted to dance. I didn't know like what road that was going to look like. I didn't know that I was carving out a path that was not there before. I didn't know. I was just doing it. I was just doing it because I was having fun and I enjoyed the people that I was around. I knew that, you know, it was a family-like environment, right? You had like, everybody was in rehearsal. All of the aunties were all outside in their camping chairs sitting. And it was very much that type of ambiance. And like, there was a sense of like family, that family feeling that encompassed Hypersquad was something that I knew I wanted to be a part of. I didn't necessarily know how I wanted to fit in that. I just knew that I was going to show up every day, do what I wanted to do. And in turn, you know, that was, I guess, groundbreaking because I was just being myself. And then soon after, you know, Jason opened the doors to other you had like, he asked me to be a choreographer, a teacher, and I think I always knew at a young age I was going to be a teacher. I didn't know what form I was going to teach. So that for me came natural. And then you had John Willis, you had Jason Wella, you had Larissa that came into the picture. And so then now it was like,
oh, snap.
Now you create an environment that, has become a bit more, it expanded in the way that Hypersquad saw dance and in the way that really Hypersquad view people.
Yes.
And I think that, bringing people in like myself and all the others that I mentioned, it just opened other doors. And I think that that's when you open the gates for other students to be able to embrace dance. Yeah. So it's fun. I mean, I think it's, like I said, you look back at it now and you don't really realize what page in the history book that you were in, but when you reread those chapters, you realize that it was really a pinnacle moment for dance in Hawaii's dance culture itself,
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
What kind of dancing were you doing? So I mean, where would booty fit into the genres? Was it street? Was it primarily street? Or you did them all?
I tried to do them all, but I was not good. I mean, as dancers, we always know that you fake it till you make it. And so I think that I did street because I felt more comfortable in that. And I remember at the time, the elite group was called The Hype, and you had to audition for that. You had to audition part of that. And so I remember, the audition was pretty intense. At the time, you had people like Marcy, who was like the dancer of Hypersquad. And so I knew that every time I took class with Marcy, I was going to stand next to Marcy because, unknowingly, she was pushing me to be a better dancer. And she was so well-rounded. I remember the first dance expo we went to, and I remember taking class with her and she was just like killing it. And I was like, yo, I cannot keep up with her. Like, she's a beast. And, I was like, what is this? And so I was like, it's fun, but I was like, I didn't know what it was. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. So I think, mainly street. And then obviously being in Hype, you had to take a ballet class. You had to take a jazz class.
Yeah.
And that was just horrible in itself for me because you're like, okay, well, I don't know how to point my toes and my feet hurts when I point my toes. Like I didn't know I knew a pirouette, but I knew how to turn around, but I didn't know it's called a pirouette. So I think like learning.
They're like, do a pirouette. It's basically you're spinning. And then you're like, where's the pole? But where's the pole?
Like, I know how to turn around. What do you mean I have to spot? Like, what is spotting? I don't know what spotting is. So yeah, it came with its own set of, discipline. It taught you discipline in a different way. But it was good. Yeah. It was definitely very good. Yeah.
What about it was like, so, a lot of people, I think we enjoy the camaraderie, the family, and we kind of just get sucked into this like amazing world. Mm-hmm. And do you remember, like, what was it about dancing? What was it about the community or the culture of the dance industry here in Hawaii that really meant something to you? Like, what were those feelings and what were those special things that made you come back and dedicate so much of your time in high school and beyond to Hypersquad or to dance?
Well, I think dance was introduced to me at a time in my life where I was still kind of like finding who I was. I mean, I knew that I was me and I was like intricate and interesting. So I think meeting other people that kind of fit the idea of what I thought was fun and were interesting in their own special way. So that created like a that really created the family-like environment, you know? And then you mix that with like young kids, I mean, still trying to find who they were. So we really were all just trying to find who we were. And dance was just an expressive way for us to be able to tell our story and what we wanted to do with our lives. You know, we knew we were all creative. We just didn't know what type of muscles we wanted to flex in the creative world. And I think you look back at it now, you know, so many of our people that were prominent dance people at that time in our lives are still in the creative world. They're, you know, they may not be pirouetting and shaking their ass, but they're most definitely still flexing their creative muscle in some form.
It's true.
So
It's very
I think
true.
like being that part, you know, being involved in that part of my life, I wouldn't trade it for anything, because I think it taught me so much about myself. It taught me so much about like being in a family-like environment. It taught me that it was okay to be interesting and different, because there were other people that embodied that with me. And I mean, I look back at it now, you know, some of my greatest friends all came from that part of my life. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So good.
Yes. Are you guys going to ask me the main question that we're all going to talk about?
I mean,
What is that?
if you want to jump in without any warm up, you could just go
are we
on.
gonna like just address the elephant in the room? Is that what we're gonna do, or you guys just want me to kind of start? I feel like you guys just want me to start sipping my tea, or do you guys want to like partake in it?
I didn't make tea, man. I forgot.
Because I feel like my tea has been brewing since the beginning of this conversation. It's kind of hot right now, and so you guys just need to let me know when I need to take it off the pot.
Oh, go ahead and serve it then. Go ahead.
Serve it up. Give the people what they want, and we all know.
You know what I think it is?
That...
So I was thinking about when you guys had asked me to come on this fun podcast. I was like, I know they're gonna ask about it, and I think because I became like such a face of Hypersquad at that time in my life, you know, one of the big dance jobs in Hawaii was to dance at Miss Hawaii USA, at Miss Hawaii for that matter, not Miss Hawaii USA. Yeah. And to dance with the competing group, which was at the time 24/7. And
those wretched people.
Those mean kids. And so there was like, you know, there was a unspoken, I think at that point, there was an unspoken competition. There was a still when we came across other dancers from the opposing dance company, there was like, of course, camaraderie. There was love there. But there was also an unspoken competitive feeling amongst each other. And so when I went to audition for 24/7 to do Miss Hawaii, if you were to ask Jason, his story is that I was doing it to be vindictive. Maybe I was. No, I wasn't. I really wasn't. I did it. This is why I did it, and I will give you guys some.
Wait. Before, there's some people who have no idea what the tea is. I think the special sauce of the show is that we have a segment where we talk bad about Jason.
Oh, is there?
Some people don't. You gotta tell people what you're about to jump into. Okay. You just jumped into the tea without. You gotta give people the context. So there's a part where we always like to ask the little dirt, the little stories behind the scenes, and every time we have somebody from Hypersquad, it's just the funniest stories. Because Jason is so upset that we paint him to be such a mean guy. But really he's not. He just cares a lot about his students.
He's very passionate, and I have so much to tell about him that when we get to that segment, I can definitely share another story.
Yes.
No, okay, go. So you went to audition to be in the show.
I went to audition.
Jason has his own story. Mm-hmm.
I went to audition to dance at Miss Hawaii with 24/7, because at the time it was like one of the first times that they opened it to everyone. And I did, and I didn't think I was gonna get it. I was like, there's no way I'm going to do it. I mean, I was obviously friends with a lot of dancers there. And so I did it. And then Marcelo called and extended the invitation. And I was like, oh my God, I guess I'm going to do this, you know? So, but obviously in doing that, I was, you know, I was selfish. And now that I look back at it, I was selfish in the approach of it, because it definitely hurt some people on the Hypersquad side, you know? And
You mean it hurt Jason?
it hurt, yeah.
I'm just
totally.
kidding. I'm kidding.
And it led to Jason and I not talking for 4 years.
Wow.
So it, you know, it definitely disrupted a lot of feelings, and it caused a lot of hurt. And so,
Well, what would you say? Like, why? I mean, there's so much to unpack.
well, I mean,
like,
on his side of the story, I think now, you know, we've had many conversations about this, Jason and I, especially as adults. I think he was hurt because obviously, you know, at that time I was like one of the faces of Hypersquad. And so to be able to do something like that hurt him. You know, he felt like I had, what's the word that I want to use? Like went against him, you know? I saw it as, again, because I broke the mold with being the first gay student of Hypersquad, I wanted to really, it wasn't my intention then when I auditioned, but now, looking back at it, my intention really was so that it would break barriers so that other Hypersquad students can go ahead and dance at 24/7. You know, and be able to get education that they weren't able to receive. And there was teachers obviously at 24/7 that didn't teach at Hypersquad because there was a loyalty to 24/7. And so looking back at it now, that's really what I wanted to do. And, you know, and in the process of doing that, I obviously hurt that relationship with Jason. And the message didn't come across as clear as I wanted it to. Does that make sense to you guys?
Yeah. Which is kind of interesting because, I think at that point, I might have been the only one bouncing between Hypersquad and 24/7, with the exception of Steph, because I know she was at Hypersquad for a little bit. I mean, she was at HCS.
And Heather.
Oh, and Heather.
Oh, yeah, Heather.
And Heather too. Yeah, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah. Because we all did World Cafe together.
That's right. Wow.
So we were in nightclubs when we were not 18 years old.
Well, I was, but
you were old. That's right. Like, you were forgetting how old you are. You're so old. Just kidding.
Wow.
But yeah,
so
that's cool. What that was, you know. And so the whole 24/7 and Miss Hawaii thing, I remember Jason came to that Miss Hawaii, and I remember as I was dancing,
he was like, "Boo, boo."
I remember when I was dancing on that stage, for some reason, I made eye contact with him in the audience.
Yeah, you saw him, and he was like,
"It's like you.
I'm a sick Sonny on you."
Oh God! Yeah, that was some time.
What did you feel when you saw him?
Well, obviously, you know, during rehearsals for 24/7, word got around, and he obviously knew that I was doing Miss Hawaii with 24/7. And I knew that he wasn't going to feel good about it. Like, he wasn't going to be the proud dad and be like, congratulations, you did it. That was not the reception I wanted, nor was it the reception that I got. You know, I think on 24/7's end, they were receptive. They were like, you know, they were shocked that I even auditioned. And so they were welcoming on their end. And so, yeah, I think, you know, I mean, of course, now, had I done things differently, would I do things differently? I don't think I would. I think because I wanted to make it clear that it was okay that we be able to learn from other choreographers, and that they're, if we're all going to speak dance, then we all need to be able to come together and educate the next generation. So at that time, that really wasn't how the lesson was learned, you know?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's so cool, you know, it's like sometimes there's people, and I see you like this even when we were young. It's like even when we were young, like you embrace your sexuality. And when you came to Hypersquad, you embraced like your understanding and your connections with different dance people. And then even then you're paving the way for new things to happen. And it's hard because there's few people who have the courage and the tenacity to go beyond the boundaries to create a new horizon for people to see. Because at one stage you can only see so far, but it isn't until somebody goes beyond where everyone is to see a whole new plane that we can access and go. Usually those people are the ones that people don't like. Those are the martyrs. Those are the innovators, the pioneers that people look down on and scoff at. And I just knowing you, Mark, it's one of those things. I'm so glad that in hindsight, you're able to see the wisdom, the dignity of what you did. There's few people who know how to process, like you said earlier in the podcast or in the show, like there's few people who know how to go back and reinterpret what happened for the good of moving forward. And I think you've done that, and you do that, and it's really amazing to hear. I'm so glad you made up with Jason, or you guys reconnected, you know, after he cried for 4 years.
Right. But now, I mean, he's obviously one of my best friends, and so you know, he gets it now. And it took, you know, he needed to grow in his own way, and we all know that Jason is very stubborn. Some things never change. He's still stubborn, but you know, I think he's been able to. Jason stubborn? No way. That's a sentence that no one has ever said.
Stubborn, controlling.
Stubborn? Jason Europe? What? No one knows.
Territorial?
What that is.
No.
I know. Me? What? You know, now that he's a father and he's experienced more life, he's able to, in hindsight, be able to look back at that part of his life and be able to take a different lesson from it than when he was going through it, you know?
Yeah. And that's a shame, is like, I think so many of us, when we engage and look at other people, or when we're just simply living life, we don't recognize that we're all in process and we're all figuring this out. And in reality, like, we're all really just trying our best.
Listen,
you know,
we're all, especially right now with everything that's happening in the world, it's just important to stay afloat. Yeah.
Tell us about what that was like after the 4 years. I'm sorry, go ahead, Brent.
Oh no, I was just curious on, like, when you did miss Hawaii, what was that whole experience for you? Because, you know, first time, new studio, dancing with a whole bunch of new people on live TV. It's not just a concert. This is live TV.
Or competition,
Or competition, What was that whole experience like?
I mean, I think I learned a lot about myself, in a sense where I remember at the time I had a job, and I don't remember I was working at Old Navy or I was working at the bank when this happened. No, I think it was Old Navy. And so I would juggle working at Old Navy and then driving to Kaneohe for rehearsal. And then, you know, you're building relationships there, and you're, you know, of course, there's going to be certain people that's like, is Mark dancing for us because is he a spy for Hypersquad? Like, you know, I'm sure there were people that were questioning my intention. And I think at that time, being so young, I was not able to clearly state my intention. All I knew was that I wanted to dance for Miss Hawaii, which you would think it's like, I mean, it's looking back at it now again, you're like, it's such a prestige job that, you know, I had jeopardized friendships for. But that's not really how I should look at it. How I should look at it, like I said earlier, was that I was breaking I was like breaking things that was going to benefit generations after me, you know? And so I think that just speaks a lot about life. Like so many times in life, we don't necessarily know what we're doing. And I think we're going through these trials that later on we can look back at and take a different lesson than when you were actually going through the initial, when you're walking through the fire, you're going to get one lesson. When you're done walking through the fire, you're going to get a whole different lesson, you know? And so, yeah, I mean, I think that dancing with 24/7 taught me a lot. Like I said, it built friendships that I still have till this day. You know, I still see a lot of those dancers till this day. And so, yeah. And I think it's so funny because sometimes we'll look back at that time in our life and we'll bring up the Miss Hawaii event because it's such an event that happened that, you know, I don't want to say define because it's such a big and heavy word, but it was a moment for Hawaii's dance community. And so I'll look back, I mean, I'll laugh about it with some of the 24/7 dancers now, you know, whether we're in LA cacking about it. I worked on a music video with Brandy Chun like a couple weeks ago. We're laughing about it. You know, yes. I saw Calvin Coloma, Calvin Marquez not too long ago, and Calvin and I always joke about it. So there's that, now we can joke about it, you know, and laugh about it. But at the time it was like, do we joke about this? Like, is this for real? Like, you know? Yeah.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, it's hard when you give so much of your life to something and to people. I always have empathy and compassion for directors.
Yeah.
Because they're really just like giving their all for the sake of other people. And
right.
Whenever, you know, something feels threatening or feels like it's taking that away, I understand some of the reactions of Jason and even other directors. Obviously with
right.
Jason being one of my best friends, like seeing the anxiety that he would have and the care that he has for the studio and people. It's like, I get it. At the same time, like I disagree with it, with
right.
some of the ways like he would do stuff, but like, I get it, man. It's hard. Because even now, I think Jason would have different things to say to his younger self. You know what I mean? As far as how he handled things and how he did that. But it's the thing about Jason, as stubborn and crazy as he is and wild, like I wouldn't have done half the things I did when we were rolling together, you know? Like, he's just like he's one of those crazy guys that just does it, you know, and gets as much people as he can to do it with him. And he sees the potential beyond what we see and what people see. It's really crazy, you know?
Yeah. I mean, yes. The evolution of Mr. Ulep, yes.
I know. What was it like after? So you guys were kind of strained for 4 years. Like what started that? I kind of know, but what started the conversation? What was that like? Like who reached out to who, and what did you guys say to kind of like reinstate? Because you had, if I'm not mistaken, you had basically stopped dancing after that. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. Right after that is when I'm trying to think. He reached out to me when my dad passed. Yeah. So he had reached out to share his condolences. And then I believe it led to a phone conversation. And then so it led to a phone.
What year was this?
It was in 06. No. Yeah, 06. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So he reached out to share his condolences, and it was on, I want to say, MySpace. It was on.
Not Zanga. Not Grindr.
Can you imagine? So he'd reached out to share his condolences. It led to a phone conversation. And then at the time, I just started with Alicia. And I'd gone home for something. I forgot what it was. I had some break in my schedule. And I attended he had an art show at Pearl Ridge. And that was
I remember.
And that was the first time that I saw him. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And so, I mean, obviously, I should not have made amends because now he's just on my tail every single day. But I'm kidding. Kidding. But yeah. And so, I mean, you know, I think we needed that break. You know, I needed to grow and he needed to grow and we needed to learn some adult lessons. So we're able to go back and revisit the friendship and be able to forgive each other. Yeah.
So in the beginning, we kind of shared a little bit about what you do, but can you do a better job of sharing some of the work you've done? Because like you went into makeup.
I did.
After. And so what kind of work and who did you work with? Because we didn't do our homework too well.
You guys are horrible hosts. No, it's fine. I mean, I think I didn't send my resume because I think so many times not that this is not why I didn't send my resume because I really forgot. So I'm sorry. But what I want to say with that is so many times we look at someone's resume and we will applaud their accomplishment, which you naturally should. Sure. But I think with me, it never was about the resume. You know, I was with Alicia. I was with Alicia Keys for about 5 years. And then from there, I've worked with Rihanna. I've worked with Christina Aguilera, Nicki Minaj. So I have been able to, you know, work on some amazing projects with these artists. And so, yeah, I think to go back to the whole resume piece, yes, those are amazing people to have on my resume, you know, rightfully so. But I think more than anything, it's always, when I look at our resume, I always feel like, are we looking at our resume or are we looking at the character of the person? And I feel like a resume should never define a person. We all know this. But I think in an industry, especially if we're going to talk about, you know, like the whole synopsis of Sickled podcast is because it talks about the dance industry, right? And so it's so important in the dance industry to be able to have such a prominent resume and to be able to have big names on your resume. But at the end of the day, are those big names your stamp of approval, or is your character more important than the big names that you're putting on your resume? So I think like that for me has always been the core of how I function. I think that, you know, your character is going to say so much more about you than the names that's on your resume.
Well said. Preach on.
That's my Oprah moment.
That was an Oprah moment. That's like.
Yeah. Do I get a car though?
So what led you into the makeup world? I mean, coming from dancing and then switching over to makeup. What was it?
I think it's so funny. I was always playing with makeup. I think, you know, with concerts, everyone's always need to put on makeup, right? So I always kind of like dabbled in it. One of my good friends, Joanne Bonta, she was like who really taught me like how to play. Yes, she's at Mac now. So
she is.
Yeah. So her mom used to sell Amway. No, Mary Kay. Just kidding, Mary Kay. And so every time I would go to their house, I would always see these boxes of makeup. And the sisters, there was Shelly, who was like one of my best friends. So Shelly, Joanne, and Liza always loved makeup. They would always wear makeup. And this is like before, like now you think about it, you have 13-year-olds rocking heavy makeup. And back then it was like not such a thing, you know?
Yeah.
But the Bonda girls always had makeup on. And I'm talking like had beautifully blended eyeshadow. I mean, it's like, you know, it was because the mom she was a salesperson, and so she had to like represent the product. And so the girls always had it on. And so whenever I would go to their house, I would always like play with their makeup. And then that translated to me doing the girls' makeup at concert. And I guess it looked good enough that they would always ask me to do their makeup for concerts. So I always knew that that was something that I could fall back on. And so I got a job at MAC. And I was like, let me just do this makeup thing and see what comes out of it. And so I got a job at MAC. And then that's kind of like how it all started from there, really.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, to break out so quick, I mean, from doing makeup on the Bonda girls with some Mary Kay stash in the back.
Yeah.
To doing it in dance and then working at MAC, like where was the jump to Alicia Keys? That's a huge jump.
I think how did that start?
So yeah.
I was doing a black girl's makeup when I was working at MAC, and it was the day before MTV Video Music Awards was held here in Las Vegas. And I was doing a black girl's makeup at MAC. I was working at MAC at the time. And there was it was a black gentleman standing behind me the whole time I was doing her makeup. And I thought it was her boyfriend. So I really didn't pay him no attention. And she didn't think anything of it. So when I was done with her makeup.
And then it was Alicia Keys.
Can you imagine?
You're like, oh, thank you so much for letting me work on you. What's your name? Like, Alicia.
Like, oh my God, I didn't even know it was you. When I was done, he approached me and he was like, my talent for tomorrow needs a makeup artist. Her makeup artist just gave birth. And can I hire you? And at the time, I'm like, yes. You know, I didn't know. We didn't discuss who his talent was. We didn't even discuss rates. Now that I was like so immature about the whole industry. We didn't discuss rates. All he told me was, he goes, can you come to the Palms Hotel tomorrow at 10 o'clock in the morning? And I'm like, yeah,
he's
for
like,
sure.
wear this red dress.
And a good wig and a blonde wig. And you better come with your face done too, or else. So I get there. I get to the Palms.
There's very few people that I can dip in and out of jokes and serious talk with, and you are definitely one of them.
I go to the Palms the next morning, and I wasn't allowed in because I didn't have my media credentials. So I call. He gave me his business card, obviously. So I call him. I called him 3 times, and he didn't pick up. And so there I am with my like makeup kit, and I'm like, "Yo, I think I just got like swindled." Like I was like, what is this? You know? So I'm walking back to my car. He calls me back. He's like, "I'm so sorry. I was in the shower." He's like, "I'm sending the assistant down to get you now." And I'm like, "Okay." So I go down. Mind you, I still don't know who I'm doing. I meet the assistant at the elevator. She gives me, you know, my credential pass, and then I go in the room and I'm like setting up, and she's like talking to me, and she's like, you know, we're rummaging through a bunch of pictures, and she's like, this is the kind of like, we're basically going over the look, and comes Miss Alicia Keys. So then I'm like, oh, but here's the story that no one knows. Not no crazy. Knows, but
that's so crazy.
That's part of the story that
Mark, you didn't even know? Like, you didn't even do research, like who's doing the show?
But wait, here's the
Filipino, bro.
Hey, calm down, Manong Bernie. Shut up. Here's the catcher to the story. Is a few months before this happened, I manifested it. I remember in my apartment, I was watching, Robin Leach used to do this show called The Fabulous Life of, and then it would be like 30 minutes of like that artist, whoever it was, right? Uh-huh. And a few months before this whole incident happened, it was on Alicia Keys. And I remember sitting on my couch and something inside of me said, "You're gonna do her makeup."
In Vegas? You were in Vegas already?
I was in Vegas. I was in Vegas already. And I was watching that episode, the Fabulous Life by Robin Leach, and it was on Alicia Keys, and something inside of me as I was watching it said, "You're gonna do her makeup."
Wow.
And then there I was. So she comes walking in, and so I manifested that, but I didn't. When she came in, I didn't immediately refer to that episode and me sitting on my couch. I just tackled the moment as is. And she loved her makeup enough that she'd asked me, back again. And so that's what started our relationship. But looking back at it, like I remember like a few months later, I was like, wait, I kind of manifested this moment.
Interesting.
And so way before The Secret was a thing, I manifested that moment. Yeah.
Dang, that's so crazy.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So that's part of the story that really...
She walks into the room and you're like...
And that was right around the time she came out with No One, the song No One. And her album, her I Am album. So that was what started our relationship, was that period in her career. Yeah.
Wow.
So
there
crazy.
it is.
I love her. There's a new show on Netflix called Sound Exploder. She's on the first episode about the song You Give Me Life or something like that. It's so good with Sampha.
What is the show called?
It's called Sound Exploder, and what they do is they just like explore the creation of songs. It's just so good, man.
I need to look. I watch
good
it.
Episode. Yeah.
Is it? I need to watch it.
I love that, man. It's like, it's one of those things where it's like, I think when you're talking about character and you're talking about manifesting things, you don't get that from people who have like formal, rigid training. But I also think it's one of the unique gems and mindsets that comes from Hawaii.
Right.
I think that's a big part of the reason why so many people in the industry like to work with people from Hawaii. It's what you're saying right there.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like openness and willingness to go for it and try and be willing to do the work while also willing to surrender the outcomes. And I think that's amazing, man.
And I think there's something to be said when you work with people from Hawaii. We were raised differently. I think we understand the hardship of a hustle, and we understand what hard work looks like. And we will always do it with a humble heart. So I think that there's beauty in all of that together. I think you look at all of my friends in the industry that, whether they're still dancing or they've explored, other venues of the creative world, you can always spot a Hawaii person when you're in the industry. It's very easy because we are quiet hustlers,
That is so good. That's a shirt.
Quiet hustler.
Quiet hustler.
I need my percentage. Thank you very much.
Yo,
yes.
I'm so gonna do that.
Let's do it.
Mark.
Down.
Mark, that is G, man.
Yeah.
No, but I think,
so true.
I think, I mean, not only that, but since the first day I met you, like, you have like such a huge heart, and like, you just made me feel loved the very first time I met you. And
the first time he met you, he was like,
yeah. I mean, I know part of it is because I'm handsome. But part of it is because I'm handsome. But
okay, calm down. I remember the first time I met you. It was like World Cafe, right? No, was it?
Yes.
And he came rolling in on his ninja. He came in his ninja.
No, well, I think, Hoku has always been like the stud of the dance world. He was like one of the straight guys. He was one of the straight guys. And of course, all the girls were like, who's this straight guy? Nah.
Oh, no.
And how many 24/7 concerts that we went to where, of course, Hoku's dancing without his shirt. And of course, all the girls are going crazy. And so here we are at World Cafe. And I'm like, who's this little fucking ninja walking in hot stuff? And, I mean, of course, there's a little bit of intimidation there because it's Hoku, right? He's the straight dancer of Hawaii's dance industry. So then you're now being able to work with him. And then at the time, I think we were working like Nito Lariosa was our choreographer. And then you have Nito yelling at all of us. So you're like, shit, what the hell's happening? You have one guy who's confident and straight. And then you have like Nito, bisexual crazy man. You know? I love Nito. So I can totally joke with him like that. Yeah.
I love it.
Oh my gosh. No, but you just, how do I say this? Like you exude this unconditional love for people, and you're very accepting of people, and you're straight up honest with everyone.
Yeah.
So there's something, I mean, talk about character, like your character literally draws people in and make them feel completely welcomed, you know? So I think that has a lot to do with things.
Thanks. I don't know. Yeah.
What do you think shaped that, Mark? Because it's usually, I find that it's people who are free in themselves that give other people the permission to be themselves. I think that's what it is. There's that mirroring that happens when you, who have gone through so much and is a thinker. I know you play around, but I know you're a deep thinker as well. I know you're very contemplative and to reassess life and things like that. So you give people permission to fully and wholly like be themselves. And so what do you think shaped that in you besides being from Hawaii?
My fascination with what people's story is, you know, and that whether I'm living in New York or in all my travels, I've always been fascinated with people's story. And everyone has a story. And so I don't know where that fascination comes from. But I think it's the fascination of hearing people's story and knowing that there's an underlining message with all of our story, you know? And I think that for me has always been something that I hold on to. And I think if you look at really the arsenal of people that I surround myself with, it's because everyone has such interesting stories, you know, and that comes from all walks of life. All walks of life. And I have trans friends, gay friends, straight friends, and but not that even cares, not that even matters, but everyone has such a unique story. And my fascination is identifying where I can level myself with their story. Yeah. So I think that's really what that is, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
Okay. You're like, Mark, shut the hell up, kid.
No, that's beautiful. What are you up to now? Like, what's Mark up to, and what's the future for you, especially in the midst of all this craziness in the world?
What is Mark up to right now? I don't even know. It's like such a real and narrow question, but it has so much. It requires such a big answer and so many components to it because there's so much uncertainty happening in the world. I'm just trying to get by, people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think at the end of the day, we're just all trying to get by. And here is, we're in a worldwide pandemic that has stopped all of our lives, regardless if you have money or you don't have money, or you know what I mean? Like, regardless of your background, regardless of whatever, like everyone's life is on hold. Yeah. And there is a lesson to be learned in that. So I'm just trying to maneuver my way through it, stay lifted, and be compassionate. Yeah, you know, I think moving to LA is officially in the cards, finally.
Oh, wow.
I mean, I've always gone back and forth so much of my, you know, especially with my career, I'm always going back and forth. I never had a problem with going back and forth, but I think it's time to finally make that jump. So that looks like that's kind of like in the cards in the next couple of months. So we'll see. I think like right now, no one knows.
Nobody really knows.
No one knows. Are you kidding me right now? Like, All we know is just to eat, sleep, and shit. And then from there on, anything else, you just figure it out as you go along.
Hey, you've been working out though.
I'm trying to listen. we're, we all know, honey. As soon as you hit a certain age, boy, gravity is not your friend.
Oh my gosh, dude, it's so hard.
You know what I mean?
I've been trying to swim because I want to diversify because I love to run. But dude, my calves are so big. I'm just like, dude, I need to diversify some of my workouts. I'm trying to swim, but like, dude, I can't last like 5 minutes. It's just like gas
like,
out.
Are you swimming laps?
Well, I'm going to the beach, so I'm going to Ala Moana. So I'm, like my goal is to like lap Ala Moana Beach Park. But like I'm trying to swim towards Diamond Head, but Diamond Head keeps moving. It's crazy, man. And I see some like these old guys going back and forth. I'm like, dude, I want that. Like, I want to get that workout.
Yo, those Watanabes and those Takahashis at Ala Moana Beach Park, they be going for it. I'm not even mad at them, and they're like, even like, they're like 60s, 70s, and they're like going.
They're killing.
Yes.
They're killing.
You're like, let me find inspiration in that because, but working out is important, and staying mentally and physically fit is important. Yeah. You know?
Yes. So how do you, I know you said we're all just trying to stay afloat, but how do you keep yourself like motivated right now, especially right now?
I get it from different ways. I think I get motivation.
Besides cheeseburgers.
And a good old drink. I don't know. Because, I don't know. You know what it is? We know what it's like to be poor. Right? And for me,
yes, we do.
We know what it's like to be poor, kids. And this generation that's growing up right now, I don't know. They're going to have a different kind of struggle. And they're going to have I know what it's like to be poor. I know what it's like to be raised by a single mother, really on welfare. And I'm not trying to quote a Tupac song. But so I know that I always go back to that feeling of being raised by a mother that relied on the system, you know? And so knowing that is always my motivation to keep climbing and to do better, because I want to be able to obviously make my mom proud and make my sister proud. But I always go back to that. I used to be embarrassed. Remember when food stamps were like book? It wasn't like paper food stamps.
Yep.
And when you would go grocery shopping, like it would stall time. The cashier would have to stamp every one of those damn papers. Yo, let me tell you something. When my mom used to go grocery shopping, and when it came to paying, I would ask her for like 25 cents or like coins. So remember, in the front of every grocery store, there was always like those set of like those coin thingy-majiggies. You can get a bracelet or gum, whatever.
Yeah.
I would always, every time it would come to paying, I would always ask my mom for some coins so I could wait.
So you could leave.
So I wouldn't have to see her give the food stamps. Yeah. And so,
wow.
Ooh, y'all trying to make a boy cry, but we're not gonna do that. But I think I look back at that, and I know what it's like to be raised like that, and so I think that for me is the reason why I continue to hustle and motivate myself every single day to do better.
That's cool.
There it is.
Good. That's good.
With that being said, I feel like I need a shot. This is water. I promise you it's water. I'm talking to Brett and Larry. I need to make my ass a drink. Like, it's 2:00 over here. I need to make my ass a drink.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. I'm proud of you guys. I'm proud of you guys that you guys, let me go ahead and give you guys your flowers because you guys deserve it. I feel like doing something like this, you guys are doing it. Keep that dance stories alive because this generation of kids need to learn that. You know, they need like a technology history book, and that's what you guys are providing to them. So, kudos to you two.
Thank you.
Who's the next guest after me? I want to know.
That would be
you gotta.
Yuri Kim.
Oh, Yuri!
Yuri's
That's
coming
so
on next.
fun. Nice.
Usually we don't have
Mark,
one until like
the
Last
day
minute.
of.
Yeah.
If you had if you could give any like advice for someone wanting to break into dance, you know, be a better person, or maybe even jump into the makeup industry, like what would your piece of advice be to these spoiled young brats, like you call them?
Right. A legendary makeup artist by the name of Fran Cooper. When I first started, she told me, you better know who you are before you come into this industry, because if you don't know who you are before you come into this industry is going to eat you up. And so it's so cliche, but it's so real. Regardless of what part of the industry you want to be in, if you want to be a dancer, there's 10,000 competitors out there. If you want to be a makeup artist, there's 10,000 makeup artists out there. You just need to hold securely to who you are before you enter this industry, and be cemented in who you are. Because then anything else, all of the bullshittery that comes with this job won't matter to you, because you're already cemented in who you are.
yes. Yes.
Is that my mic drop moment?
That is your mic drop. You had many. You've had many.
No.
You've dropped the mic many times, sir. Very well. But I do want to know at least one dirt story. You have a special perspective of Jason that not many have, so this better be juicy. This better be a juicy morsel.
Right, but I don't make it like your top story, because we gotta bring you back, because I feel like there's so much you have to share, let alone for selfish reasons. I just love talking to you. But we gotta bring you back on.
What kind of dirt do I have on you, Lip? Oh my God.
What kind of dirt don't you have on you?
Okay, let's give the guy a break.
I have a
Let's
lot.
give the guy a break. Let's do something, an embarrassing story of Jason, and then a sweet story of Jason that you remember about him.
An embarrassing, I don't know if it's embarrassing. I can share this story because obviously we all talk about it. So, Jason's fiance is Michelle. And what maybe a lot of people don't know is Jason and Michelle met years ago, and then they went their separate ways, and then they're back together now. So in the beginning of their relationship, I was living in Waikele, and Michelle would always come over to my house, and I was living with my roommate Denise, and so Michelle would always come over, and then Jason would come over. So one night we were all drinking. So Michelle would she would obviously buy drinks, and I was drinking way before I was 21. And I think we were drinking like some malt beverage. I don't know what it was. And Jason got a tummy ache. Like he didn't do well with it. So he slept in my room. So me, Michelle, and Denise continued drinking. And so he slept in my room. And then we were probably drunk. I know we were drunk. Me, Michelle, and Denise got drunk. And Michelle, in the middle of the night, creeps into my room and had sex in my room. It's so gross. But it's like a story that I always tease the both of them. You know? And of course, Jason gets really gross about it. He's like, yeah, and I use one of your shirts to wipe up. I'm like, he's such a jerk ass. So I don't even know if that's like an embarrassing story. Like, that's probably not even an embarrassing story.
Oh my God. That's hilarious.
That's something else.
Yeah. I have so many roasting stories. I'm like, that's, for some reason, I don't know why that story came to mind, but that came to mind.
What about a sweet memory of him?
Oh God, are we gonna give him that pathetic?
You know, sometimes.
I give the guy a break, man. He's our number one fan.
Sweet story of him. I don't even. I think what's sweet is to see Jason in this part of his life, to see him as a father to Berlin, and to see how much he's evolved, and to see how much he's, at a different place in his life. And I think, it's like grumpy old man turns into like finally really cool dad. So, and that whole, like, how that happened, So, yeah, I mean, and to see the evolution of that is basically what I'm trying to get to. So to see the old grumpy Mr. Know-It-All, Mr. Hypersquad that thinks he's so badass, and to see him be, now basically surrender to a 3-year-old and be, her victim. So to see him transition and to see him at this part of his life has been fun. Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
I love that you guys have a section in your show that's like a roast Jason Ulip section.
It's supposed to be like your director, but we've had a lot of hype people, and so just like it's just been so funny. Every director has like stories, right?
Oh yeah,
so
for
that's
sure.
one of the things.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's just fun to hear, Jay's 3 before me rule and all these other things that he has.
He posted something. I think recently I saw that he, on his Instagram story, he had posted a collection of the stories that roasted him, right? On this podcast.
Yeah. It's so funny.
So
where can people find you, follow you, contact you if they ever needed something, if you're open to that?
They can find me on social
collect
media.
their car.
On my social media, Instagram is Mark Quirimit, Quirimit. Yep.
Dang, Mark.
There's that.
Thank you so much for doing this.
For having me.
Yeah, it's been great catching up. I think you have so much wisdom, mana'o, and good stuff to share with people. It's awesome to see somebody who is fully and wholly themselves and still going after it, but still humble and malleable, like you said. I think we need to see people doing their things so that we have that permission to go after it as well. So you're one of those people, man. Thank you. Love you so much, man.
Love you guys. Stay lifted. I love you all.
Stay lifted. And everybody, especially those popping the booties on the poles. Don't forget, you humble hustlers. Point your toes.
Humble hustlers. There it is. I need my residual on all of those shirts that's happening.
You will.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mark.
Thanks,
Mark. You so much.
Okay.
Take care.
Love you guys. I will talk to you soon.
Love you. Yes.
Okay.
Love
Bye.
you. Bye.